Welcome back, everybody. It's your boy G, along with Alec. Another episode of 1600. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as you guys do. And as you guys have seen, we've been talking about Winning Time as the show's been going on, and definitely enjoy all that's been going on with it. Definitely a fun thing. And the show itself is based off of a book called Showtime, which documented the Lakers dynasty in the 1980s. And that book was written by the author here, Jeff Pearlman. We appreciate you, sir, for joining us. How's everything going today?
I'm well, thank you. And I'll actually tell you, I see on your sweatshirt it says "Success ain't an accident." And this book becoming a TV show is a complete accident. Like, it just kind of happened. I had nothing to do with it. So every now and then, success is an accident.
Okay. and what is that feeling having this show brought to life as you mentioned there?
I mean, it's people always say, like, is it a dream? Is this like a dream come true? And I'm like, it's not a dream come true, because I never, ever even considered it as a thing. Like, I'm just a guy who writes. So it's crazy. Everything about it is just like gravy. You know, it's the best thing ever. I don't really love gravy, but it is the best thing ever. It's amazing. So yeah,
it's got to be. Is it a bit surreal to kind of see your book, your hard work that you put years of sweat and energy into, see that on the screen?
Yeah, I mean, it really was surreal when there are all these moments of surrealness that have happened. The first time they started casting people, I would say my first real surreal moment was when I saw Sally Field was casted. And I was like,
okay,
whoa, Sally Field is casted. And then my second is probably going to set the first time and seeing Quincy as Magic and being like, whoa, what? And just along the way, like all these crazy moments, being at the premiere party and walking a red carpet and yeah. And being in the first, my wife and I had cameos in the first episode, as did my kids, like little extra roles, not cameos. And all that stuff is just crazy. Yeah. It's not, I'm just a guy who writes, but I'm just a guy who want to be a writer. That's it. So all this stuff is just crazy. Yeah.
Speaking of crazy moments and all that's been going on there, or in the midst of season 2 and talking about it and really enjoying it, what have been some of your favorite moments of season 2 that at least so far that we as audience have seen?
All right, so a couple of moments. Number one is I think my favorite scene of the year is a scene where Sean Patrick Small, who plays Larry Bird, shows up at Indiana State in the work boots and the flannel.
Yeah,
everything about that scene is just so freaking good. And it's like, I really like, and I guess I'm just saying this because I work for the show, but I do love this, is like the sports scenes are really good. Like, it doesn't feel corny and it doesn't feel fake. So many sports movies and TV shows that they suck. Right? They just suck. And here it's legit. And that scene is so perfect. And then there's another scene in that same episode where the actor Newton Mayenge, who plays Jim Jones, finds out he's traded to Washington, and he storms into the office and he's looking for Paul Westhead, and Westhead's hiding in his office.
Right.
I love that scene. I love that episode. And then I saw the episodes a long time ago, but I saw episode 4 last night. And I just saw it beginning to end, like the scene of Magic and Paul Westhead in the closet where they have this confrontation.
I was going to say, that's
just great. And I mean, Quincy, who plays Magic, just owns the screen. I mean, that guy's a natural, and he's so good. And he's going to have this long, brilliant career. And I think as an actor, he's just that good. And I mean, there are a million different scenes I love.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of how well the basketball is filmed on this show. A lot of times with sports shows or movies, sometimes the actual gameplay doesn't feel realistic at all, but I think they've done a great job on this show. I saw some of the behind the scenes of how they kind of adapted things for this season 2, and in terms of physically how they were filming, and had the dude on roller skates filming with the camera. I was like very impressed by that. So they continue to up the ante in season 2 for sure. Have there been?
I also think we've all sat through bad sports. Like, we've all seen, I'm older than you guys, but I remember being a kid and like the movie Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox came out. If you've never seen Teen Wolf, you need to watch the basketball scenes in Teen Wolf, because Michael J. Fox literally this is way before Parkinson's, had no athleticism to speak of. They didn't know how to shoot basketball. It was corny and cheesy and stupid. And like, you watch it and you're like, this is garbage. So seeing a show with really good sports, it matters. It doesn't distract. It actually absorbs you. So man, awesome. Yeah.
With that,
add to your show. Go ahead, Alex. My apologies.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just, were there any scenes that have kind of been left on the cutting room floor that you wish got to play out on screen for audiences to see?
Well, I mean, the thing I want is, just being honest, like, I'm worried that this is the last season. Like, that's the big thing. And there's so much. My book chronicled 79 to 91. This season takes you to the end of 1984. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I'm just being blunt. Like, 1984 ends with the fucking Boston Celtics winning the NBA championship. Like,
Right.
I got no beef with the Celtics in my personal life, but on this show, you can't have the Celtics win the NBA championship.
Right.
Like, all right.
Talking about the Lakers dynasty here. Yeah.
So, as I always say, and I mean, like, we need people to watch this show. It's during a strike, a writer strike and an actor strike. The actors are not here to promote it. Most of the writers, I know, so a lot of stuff is coming out in a vacuum. So there's just, you asked what I want, like what I feel is missed. I feel like there's the continuing development of the Bird Magic rivalry, the aging of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the arrival of Vlade Divac, the weirdness of Kurt Rambis, the
Right.
emergence of Byron Scott, who was actually raised a stone's throw from the Forum where the Lakers played in Inglewood. James Worthy is a fully developed character. Like, there's all this stuff about that era that I love.
Yeah.
And I kind of crave,
Yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, like, excited to see how that comes together. And we continue to hope, as we've been following it, hope that it all is able to manifest as hoped, and really enjoy what's being put together here. Talking about the second season that we're in right now, and talking about how you've been just appreciative of having the show brought to life. Can you talk about some of the challenges that you may have been confronted with, and just following such a successful season that you guys had in season 1, and where you guys are now?
Well, I mean, the number one is it's sort of like, I think it's the same challenge in sports TV as it is in writing a sports book. Like, the hardest thing about writing a book about this kind of era is seasons can be repetitive, right? And like, so because people would say to me, what year is it that the Lakers beat whoever? And I'm like, I don't even remember, because like that season seems like. So I think the challenge always is, in both the show and the book, is finding new things from each season, finding new breakout characters, finding things that didn't happen the season before, finding ways. Like, season 1 really was 1979-80, period. It was that first season. Right. Season 2 is 79 through 84. And I think it definitely was, kind of an interesting dilemma. How do you, and it's also 7 episodes, not 10. So how do you use a shorter period of time to cover a wider swath of time without leaving too much out? But at the same time, like, you can't have 7 episodes and just bounce around and give 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, because then you have no character development whatsoever. So I think they made the decision, all right, we're going to focus on Bird and Magic. We're going to focus on Westhead to Riley. We're going to focus on Jerry Buss, and sort of hyper focus on those things. And I don't think it's easy. I think it's pretty hard.
Yeah. Is the cut from 10 to 7, was that had anything to do with the strikes and things that are going on right now?
I think it just had to do, honest to God, with finances and HBO, and it's an expensive show to make, and it's an expensive show to make. It is. It's a very expensive show to make. I'm not lying about that. It costs a ton of money to produce it. If you look at it, I mean, people always say, why does it cost a lot of money? Number one, the basketball scenes are insanely expensive. And if you look at the attention to detail on this show, like, honestly, watching it last night, I was watching it with my son and my wife, and even I forgot, like, they're playing the Nets. And not only are they wearing like stitched Nets uniforms, but it's like the actual players with the actual numbers who look like the players in some resemblance from the time period. And then they play, they have the game where they play the Indiana Pacers, and Jack McKinney is coaching the Pacers now. Right. And it's not just like, they could, like, you guys are young enough, you probably wouldn't know that number 42 on the Pacers in 1982 is so
right.
But they don't want the 12 people who would know it to walk away being like, So the attention to detail is just phenomenal, but it's also expensive,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People are always trying to critique and pick out those little details too. So
I'm the biggest asshole of all of them when I watch sports TV. I'm always like, wait, that wasn't right. Or did you see that? Or he wasn't even on the team. I remember they had me watch all the episodes for season 1, and they wanted me, mark it up. And I remember, like, there was one guy walking out of the tunnel with the Celtics, maybe during the playoffs or something. And I was like, I really don't think that guy was on the roster at the end of the season. And like, that's why you have a nerd like me on, consulting, because I was right. He wasn't. And, I think they changed it. So it's weird.
Yeah. You mentioned that we're younger. We're 97 babies, both of us. So can you describe for us, as someone who, I guess, lived through the Showtime era, what it was like actually watching those larger than life figures like Magic and Kareem?
I feel like you're one step away from calling me grandpa.
I laughed.
We didn't mean it like that.
Let me tell you,
Let
let me tell you, son, what it was like back in the glory days. When cigarettes were a nickel, and everyone poured a Coke off a hooker's ass. Let me tell you. It was awesome. The thing is, like, I'm a kid from New York, and I was a New Jersey Nets fan, and the Nets sucked. So it sucked watching the Nets. You'd watch them, and they were just terrible. And back in the day, way before you guys came along, you would really only get one national game a week in the NBA. Like Major League Baseball was much bigger than the NBA, like much bigger than the NBA. I can't even understate that. Like,
because the NBA was on tape delay for a while.
Yeah, but not when I was watching.
Yeah.
But when I was watching, what I'm saying is like,
Stop doing that, Alec.
I'm not trying.
Thanks. No, guess what? We also had color TV, believe it or not. It was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know, it was tough walking 5 miles to school every day. Damn. When you told me to come on the show, you did not tell me that.
It would be a
no, being serious. So, like, you would only see teams nationally, like, very infrequently, right? Like, really infrequently. So, I remember being a kid growing up in New York, and like Lakers Celtics would be the game of the week. It was like the game of the week, and it'd be on CBS. And what I remember, like, vividly is sitting in front of my TV, and they would show this. They would do a wide shot first. It'd be like live from Southern California, or sometimes they'd bullshit and say live from Hollywood, even though it was Inglewood. And they'd show the coastline with the palm trees, and they'd show the Laker girls, and then they'd show like courtside, the celebrities sitting courtside, and then they would show Magic with his smile and Kareem with the goggles. And for me as a kid, honest to God, it was like, I want that. Like, I'm sitting home in suburban New York in this little white bread town with nothing to do, and I'm looking at that, and I'm seeing that, and I really craved it and wanted it. And I got to say, I live in Southern California now, and it kind of lives up to what I was hoping for. Like, there are palm trees outside, and the beach isn't that far away, and like, there are a lot of people in bikinis and walking around, and the whole thing, it's like the greatest thing ever. So that really got my appetite for it. And the NBA just wasn't. This is the other thing that I swear to God is the weirdest thing. And I tell my son this. I have a son who's 16. I'm like, you couldn't get a Laker hat like at the local store in New York. You go to the mall and you couldn't get a Laker hat. So if your family was going to LA, I remember literally my parents, we took a trip to California in 1984. It was a huge deal. I was 12 years old. And that's when I got my Padres hat and a Giants hat, because you couldn't get them in New York. And you couldn't get back then. It's not like you'd be like, I'm going to buy a Magic Johnson jersey at the local store. You couldn't. You just couldn't. It wasn't, and there wasn't no internet, so you couldn't order it then either. I know I do sound like grandpa, but it's all true.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, it was a different era. Like, there wasn't the social media, so there was like more of a mystique around players, and you didn't know everything about their personal lives and that kind of thing too. So
it was like Magic Johnson coming to town was a big deal. If you were like, if you were a Nets ticket holder and the Nets sucked, it was a huge deal, because not just because he was a star and you'd see him in person, but because there was a real mystique. You know, like what's his name? Wembayama, the number one pick.
Yeah.
Right.
We've all seen him now on social media.
Right.
Like,
for years.
Yeah, for years we've seen him on social media. If he came along in like 1985, it would just be this complete and total shroud of mystery about him. So
yeah, definitely a wild thing to witness. You talked about the allure of LA and the mystique to these players and all of that. Add into it also, we see in the series so far, they're talking about Magic and his $25 billion deal. Do you remember that at all? That reported, like, did that add to the mystique of Magic, about the rumors of him having this mega deal back then?
So I wouldn't remember because I was a kid, but I reported it extensively. So I wrote a lot about it. And it's funny because it's like that scene in, I don't know if you guys seen Austin Powers, but where he's like, $1 million. It's kind of like that. Like, you look back at that contract now, and that's basically like the 23rd man on the Cleveland Guardians contract, you know, $25 million a year. Whoa. But at the time, it was unspeakably big money and unspeakably long duration. And also spoke in a lot of ways to the changing dynamic where, like, nowadays, who's the most powerful guy in the NBA? Probably LeBron. You know, who's the second most powerful? Maybe Steph. Like, these guys are the power players in the NBA. Whoever it is, you know, like these are the power players in the NBA. like James Harden is dictating his course in the NBA right now. He drives me crazy, but I don't
talk about him.
yeah. Oh my God. But players now have real swagger and real power. And the thing about that $25 million contract is it was really the first time a player exercised true power and had true power and almost was in a partnership with the owner of a team. So it didn't reflect well on Magic at the time, the way he was kind of known as a coach killer and inside the locker room. But it kind of, in a way, is kind of impressive that he exercises power.
Yeah. Definitely cool to see. And I love how it's being depicted in the show right now. Taking this a step back and kind of moving to the show and what's going on today, as you mentioned Harden and players of the moment. As you're watching the Lakers right now and seeing how they've been successful, are you low-key like rooting against them so people like turn more eyes back to the show? Like, is the success of the Lakers right now deterring anybody potentially from what's going on with Winning Time?
All right, that's such a good question because throughout my career, all right, when I started writing books back when you guys were 2, wait, I wrote my first book in 2003, so you guys were 6.
Yep.
It used to be like the thinking would be like, oh man, you should release your, like my first book was about the Mets, the 1986 New York Mets, whatever. But the thinking used to be in publishing, oh, you should have that come out during the World Series because it's a big time for baseball, blah, blah, blah. And what I learned over time is that's actually the worst thing because the attention of it all gobbles it up. And nobody's talking about a stupid book about the Mets when so-and-so's in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been rooting against the Lakers. I truly haven't. No, I really haven't. Because my poor neighbor Drew down the street.
Secretly.
No, not at all. The Lakers. I'm cool with the Lakers. I like teams. But like it definitely is good for products. Like when I had my 2 Laker books come out, the Lakers weren't very good. And I always thought that was pretty good for the books because people are more nostalgic. You know? I will say the one thing I was wrong about these modern Lakers, like in a major way, is I always thought early on, I thought Austin Reaves, just being blunt, was kind of like all the white fans love having a white hope, and here's Austin Reaves, and they all love him. And Austin Reaves is scrappy. The guy can fucking play. Like the guy's
he really can. He really can hoop. Yeah.
I was way off of my. I was like way off of my breakdown of Austin Reaves. I honestly thought he was just like people love the scrappy white guy. It's just they do, and like he's a legit. If he's your 3rd best guy, I think you can win a championship. I really do.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't say that.
I guess
you disagree?
No. I'm cool with that. I had a different question. Tying it back to Winning Time, if you were to cast a modern day Lakers show and put that together, who would you have play Austin Reaves in the show?
Oh my God.
I said the actor that plays Johnny Buss already looks like Austin Reaves.
Yeah, he does actually. I don't know. Whoever I would go, you know, like Quincy Isaiah, who plays Magic, was basically a football player from Kalamazoo, Michigan, played at Kalamazoo College. Mm-hmm. I would probably go to like a farm in Oklahoma and just walk around and try to find someone on a ranch, like the ranch hand in Oklahoma, scrappy kid, you know, and I don't know. He's fun to watch, that guy.
Yeah, definitely.
He's already got the hillbilly. He's got the hillbilly Kobe nickname already. So
Yeah,
that makes sense. I think you're on the right line of thinking there for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alec.
I guess you talked about writing and when your Lakers books came out. I guess in an era where attention spans are shorter, why do you think like the medium of books and writing books like is important still?
Great question. So, but don't get cocky. But great question. It's really interesting. Actually, I've had this conversation. You're the first person ever asked me that. I swear to God, and I've done a gazillion of these. That's a great question. It's really interesting because we're in this era where mediums just go click, 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 and they come and go real quick, right? And like, as an example, nobody goes to movies anymore, right? I mean, with the rare exception, Barbie comes out, Oppenheimer comes out, but generally speaking, people are not flocking to movie theaters like they used to.
Correct.
Again, I have kids 16 and 19. They never watch TV. There's no such thing as them sitting down. Now they'll watch, like they have shows they stream, blah,
like
blah,
streaming.
blah.
Yeah.
Sure. But there's no appointment viewing for my kids anymore, you know, and they don't need to watch it on a TV. It's almost like we have a TV in our house. And sometimes I wonder, why do we even have this thing hanging there? Because they don't watch TV, right? So mediums, and like for a while, like the Kindle was a big thing or the Nook was a thing, like these things.
Right.
And the craziest, and newspapers, gone. Print newspapers, nobody's reading them. Print magazines, nobody's reading them.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but books have survived. I honestly don't know why, but books have survived. I literally today in the mail, my publisher sent me, first time I've had it, my paperback version of my Bo Jackson book, my last book. That wasn't a plug, but it's sitting here. And books still sell. And people your age still read books. And you may be like, well, I don't read a book, but people your age still read books. They really do.
I open a book from time to time.
Yeah, but like there's something about it that has survived. And I don't know what it is. And you don't see people on airplanes reading books like you used to, and you don't go to a beach and see, but they're still selling. And I think there's something, I could be wrong, and you guys may be like, just shut up, Grandpa, you're wrong. But like, I think there is something about sitting down with a book that is kind of like a bowl of soup, where there's something comforting about it and there's something appealing about it. If it's a good book and it absorbs you and there's something about it. And also, like, despite what I just said, you can read a book on your phone. You can read it on a tablet. You can read it on a laptop.
You can listen to a book too. Yeah.
You can listen. And the other thing I will say, and you guys may disagree, like, I'm on Twitter. You guys are on Twitter or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. But like, it is empty calories. Like at the end of the day, all that shit is empty calories. It's like something pisses me off, something makes me laugh. Same with Instagram. It's all empty calories. And there is something about reading a book and getting into greater detail that like isn't an empty calorie. It makes you feel like you did something with a few minutes of your day. So I just think for some reason or another, they have survived.
And we definitely appreciate the books that you put together. You mentioned the Bo Jackson book you did there. Why do you feel it's important to keep digging deeper into the personal stories of these legendary athletes as you have?
Well, the book I'm doing next is a Tupac biography. It's my first non-sports book. And I'm a believer in history. Like I'm a believer in the lessons of history. And that doesn't just have to be politics or nation building or whatever. Like I think sports history matters. There's a cultural element to it all, you know, and like Bo Jackson, just as an example, is a historic figure in sports. He's the greatest athlete, in my opinion, who ever lived. That's important. I think Tupac is not just one of the great hip hop artists of all time, but one of the biggest cultural icons of all time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I also just think I like being entertained through a book, and I like reading a good book personally. So I try and sometimes fail and sometimes succeed, but in writing a good book that people just are engaged and entertained and informed. So I don't know. I just kind of dig it. It's also a great way to make a living. It's actually fun, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely excited for the Tupac book, the biography that I saw you mentioned. Taking a slight step back from there, just music in general. Has music played a big role in your life? Are you a big music fan?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I really started writing, this is going to sound weird, and you guys may not identify, I don't know, but like, to me, the rhythms of writing and the rhythms of like music, and in particular for me, hip hop, aren't that dissimilar. And like when I write, I read everything I write out loud. And it's like, there's almost like a bounce you hear in your head, and maybe nobody else would hear it. But you know, you're like, the first time Bo Jackson picked up a bat, and they're like, no. When Bo Jackson first picked up a bat, you're like, yeah, that sounds better. Did it. And when I was young and coming up, like I would listen to A Tribe Called Quest all the time because I really liked the way Q-Tip and Phife Dawg had this sort of ba-dum. There's like a rhythm to it all. And I'm not saying it's the same thing, and this might sound egomaniacal because it's kind of crazy, but like I do think there's rhythm to it all. You listen to the way, like you may read a book I write, read a book, whoever, Stephen King, I don't know, Michael Lewis, someone else writes, and think that rhythm is totally different. It sounds totally different. And that's not that dissimilar than listening to one musical artist. You listen to A Tribe Called Quest and you listen to J. Cole, and it's a completely different cadence and beat. But in your head, when you're making it, you actually hear it. So music has played a huge part in the way I kind of hear words and hear writing and such.
This is a sports show, and I know we're here talking about winning time, but music is a big part of my life as well. Take a slight step back on the screen. I got vinyls all over the place here and things. And really enjoy all of that. There's a Nipsey one, Ben Staples, you know who that is. Aaliyah's back there. Juvenile's there. All that.
Wait, time out.
Sure. You know who that is?
If you know who that is.
Do I
did
know?
You just say that?
He
no,
did say
you
that.
said to me, if you know who that is.
Oh, did I say that? No.
Yes.
I was talking about Ben Staples. I said that.
Yeah, what the?
No, my apologies. Future people. I'm just throwing names out. Folks that I have back there. Some newer artists, some old. I got walls all over the place full of vinyl here.
Hold on. let me just say the last.
Go
Let me
ahead.
just say the last concerts I've been to, and I'm gonna discount the Darius Rucker concert I took my wife to, and say that the most recent concerts I've been to have been J. Cole with almost everyone from Dreamville and 21 Savage.
Okay.
I went to Tyler the Creator in San Diego, which is
Great.
Awesome. This is a little old school, but I saw Nas, Wu-Tang, and Busta Rhymes in Orange County, California. I took my son. I can't say he didn't let me come with him, but he wanted to come with a friend, which I get. But he saw JID, which I love JID.
Yeah, great.
Do you know who that is?
We love Jid. Yep.
You know who that is? I'm just checking.
I've heard the guy. Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't dismiss me as like Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton, man.
There's new rappers every day, so sometimes you say names and people are like, "Who's who?" So that's most of what, man. I'm not looking at the age thing no more. We're off of that for sure. But
I checked out your bio, so I saw you like a variety of artists. You had some Hall & Oates in there. You had Tupac.
Love Hall & Oates.
You had Tribe. Yeah. So
Hall & Oates has had a major hip hop influence. Talk about, like if you listen to, there's a song by Hall & Oates called "I Can't Go for That," and the opening beat is probably more than any other pop song in hip hop history.
Yeah, one of them for sure. Yeah.
So I guess with that, another slight fun question. I already have plenty of albums here, but if you could recommend the album for me to check out, I'm all taking the recommendations, and anything that comes to mind for you, I definitely would appreciate.
I mean, have you? I'm in my Tupac place, obviously. Do you have All Eyes on Me?
I don't have it yet. I need to add to the collection. It costs a bit right now. Last time I checked, but I'll see if I can grab it somewhere.
So it's an amazing double album. I mean, it's a first. I think it might be the first actual hip hop double album. And it's outstanding. And the other Tupac album, I'll tell you, seriously great album that nobody knows about is Tupac released an album with a group he had called Thug Life, and it's just called Thug Life Volume 1. It's ridiculously good, ridiculously good, and you can probably get it for $5 on eBay. It's really good. And the other one, the great is that hopefully you know, it's the Low End Theory by Tribe Called Quest, which is just
absolutely.
The merging of jazz, the fusion of jazz and hip hop. So great.
We'll check those. Appreciate that. We can talk music all day if you want to. Let me say that for another episode. But for now, I just want to pick your brain about that. Is there now going back to what we were talking about with Winning Time and all of that, and slightly telling you what we just discussed? Is there any thought now, as you've seen the success of Winning Time, as you tackle Tupac, to have that hopefully brought to life visually as well, or is this you solely just want this to be on paper?
Let me just tell you something. If someone wants to come to me and make a show out of any of my books, here I am. Well, let me just put it to you this way. I'm being serious about this. Here's what happens when they turn your show and your book into a show. Okay. First of all, they pay you money every episode, right? And I'm not getting rich off it, but it's definitely money I didn't have before they were paying me every episode. So literally a check arrives, and I have 2 kids. I have a kid going to college and a kid in college. So they're basically helping finance my kid's college education. That's one. Number 2, they let you be in the show. So I've been in the show, been in an HBO show this season. Next episode, I literally have lines in the show. You'll see me as a reporter.
We'll be looking out for you. Yeah,
please do. I wear a really bad wig and sideburns. But Number 3, they invite you to the greatest party ever. The premiere party for Winning Time was the best night of my life, ever, of all time. It was just insane how fun it was. And number 4, no matter what happens the rest of my career, I'll always have this moment in time, where moments are fleeting. They really are. I mean, it goes fast. It really does. That makes me sound old, but it is true. It goes fast. And these moments don't come every day. And I feel like if someone asked me, how would I have accepted this if I were younger? And I wouldn't have appreciated it in the same way I do now. I'm 51 years old. Time goes fast. You get older. And these things don't happen to you very often, And I think if I was younger, I'd probably think, this is just the beginning. Every young person, myself included, is always this is just the beginning. I don't know that. This might be just the end. This might be the last show I ever have on TV. And it's just been truly one of the great things to ever happen in my life. So if it happens again, I'm all in. I am all in 100%. Call me.
Yeah. Understood. I mean, we're huge Lakers fans, and obviously we grew up Kobe Shaq era. So obviously we've heard you discuss it in other interviews that HBO has already bought the rights to the 3 Ring Circus book as well. So that's potentially down the pipeline.
It's a long shot. Not gonna lie. It's a long shot. Because what happens in this business, just so you know, like whenever you hear someone say, like a writer say, oh my God, blah, 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 my book was just optioned. All that means is a screenwriter or a production company or sometimes a network has the right to turn it into something. There are 8,000, like my book was optioned. Showtime was optioned in 2014. So it's 2023. That shows you how long and how many hurdles there are. Right, so it does take a long time to happen. So one thing I've become with my old age is a little bit jaded too. And I'm like, it'll probably never happen. So maybe it'll happen, but who knows?
Yeah. And so lastly, I guess with the writers and actors strike, like making the promotion really difficult for the show currently, it feels like the show is like slightly going under the radar a little bit for some audiences.
Yeah.
I mean, we're huge fans. We've been covering it since season 1, episode 1, every episode, but we know that it ultimately is a numbers thing to keep the show alive. And the quality is clearly not the issue of the show. So I guess, could you tell people who may not be tuned in yet what they're missing by not checking out the show?
I'm just saying there's a very friendly Jewish writer sitting in Southern California with not one, but 2 kids who need to go to college. Right? College is very expensive no, I'm just kidding. So, look, I watched episode 4 last night. I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
It's just great fucking television. Like it's just factually.
It really is.
That episode last night, I was like soup to nuts. That is a great piece of television. And like the attention to detail is just insane. And what I love about the show, and I'm not pandering to my audience here, I really mean this. Like, it's great that John C. Reilly's in it. It's great that Sally Field was in it. It's great that Adrian Brody. I feel like Hollywood has a long and ugly history of taking Black characters and making them pimps and drug dealers and homeless guys and just like the lowest base thing, right? Scary guy in the corner with the knife. Oh, we'll stay away from him. Like that's basically Hollywood to Black actors, especially Black men. Yeah. And this show to me is like the exact opposite because the characters are nuanced. It's not just Magic Johnson basketball player. It's this nuanced character. It's Kareem, this deeply intellectual and conflicted character. It's Magic's parents, his dad, played by Rob Morgan, like hardworking blue collar guy trying to get his son, but this prideful guy. Like there just aren't that many shows that do this. There just aren't. And like I like to think that people watching the show in places where there isn't that much exposure are being exposed to something they haven't seen before. Like that actually means a shitload to me because I come from that exact community, a small town in upstate New York, 98% white, super Trumpy, super nothing. And I think it's important that people see a diversity of characters, a diversity of experiences. And I just think this show does that really, really well. And that is number one for me. Actually, what I love about this show and this whole experience.
Yeah, we agree and definitely are tuned into it, dog, and appreciate what you guys are putting forth with this show. Definitely big fans. We'll continue to watch for however long this continues to go, and we hope it lasts for a long while. So definitely appreciate you for joining us, Mr. Pearlman here. Thank you. Apologies.
Whoa.
I did it again. See, I was going to say apologies for the.
I knew he was going to stop you.
Wait, is my dad behind me? Is that?
Oh my God! Sorry, I didn't mean to like. Apologies for the old. We didn't try to poke at that at all. But definitely enjoyed to have you on. We also had Ronnie Barnes on during season 1 and got to talk with him. Are you guys having things together?
Older than me.
Yeah. For sure.
Did you call him Mr. Barnes?
Can you reveal if he has any more scenes coming up soon?
What'd you say?
Can you reveal if he has any more scenes coming up soon? I know they had him as a security guard.
I don't know if Rodney does. Rodney's the best. Rodney's freaking awesome. And Rodney hosts, we have a weekly Winning Time podcast, and he's a host. I just texted him the other day. He's actually great. He's just great at it. And that guy's background. I mean, Rodney's background as a comic book guy is remarkable. He has a remarkable background. He's been involved. He's like, work on this Tupac book. He's a who's who. I'm like, hey, do you know so-and-so? Oh, yeah, I know him. Oh, do you know so-and-so? He just knows everyone in Hollywood. I know very few people in Hollywood. I'm a book writer, but he knows everyone. He's awesome. Yeah. Good guest.
Yeah. So definitely a great grab. We'd love to continue to talk to whoever we can grab from the show. And if you can help with that, also a little nod in there, definitely we appreciate that. So yeah, a lot of great things here. And again, thank you for joining us today. Any final words from you, Alec, as well?
Thank you, Grandpa Pearlman. It was a blast. It was a blast.
Next time, hey guys, next time when I come on, if it's okay with you, I'm going to tell you about the time I saw my first locomotive train. And I also tell you what it was like after Titanic. That was rough. Oh, wait. Sincerely, this has been one of my favorite interviews. You guys are freaking great and delightful. This
Awesome.
is awesome. So thank you
We
so much
appreciate
for loving the
Appreciate
show.
that. We really appreciate you as well. So that is it for us right now. We appreciate y'all for tuning in to us yet again. We'll be back next week to react to Jeff as he is acting in episode 5, Winning Time, and all the things are going with the show here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as you guys do. There's some other sports talk as well. NFL's getting going and all that. Excited to get to it. And yeah, thank you for tuning in as you guys do. We'll see y'all again shortly. And we got here, man. Peace.
Deuces.